Good morning, 5B, and welcome to the next chapter of Refugee. When we last left, Joseph and his family, his dad had been released from the concentration camp and they were told they had to leave the country. So Joseph and his sister Ruthie and his mom got train tickets and they met their dad up in a different city in Germany, and they boarded the MS St. Louis, which was a cruise ship that was going to take them to their new home in Cuba. Joseph, somewhere on the Atlantic Ocean, 1939, 6 days from home. Ruthie skipped ahead of Joseph along the sunny promenade deck, happier than he'd ever seen her before. And why not? The MS St. Louis was a paradise. Banned from movie theaters in Germany because she was Jewish, Ruthie had seen her first cartoon on board during movie night and loved it, even if it was followed by a newsreel with Hitler yelling about the Jewish people. 3 times a day they ate delicious meals in the dining room, laid out on white tablecloths with crystal glasses and shining silverware, and waiters waited on them hand and foot. They had played shuffleboard and badminton, and the crew was putting up a swimming pool which they promised to fill with seawater once the St. Louis hit the warm Gulf Stream. Everyone on the crew had treated Joseph and his family with kindness and respect, despite his father's repeated warnings that all Germans were out to get them. In the 5 days they'd been there, Papa hadn't even come out of their cabin once, not even for food, and Joseph's mother had barely left his side. And the crew wasn't just being nice because they didn't know Joseph and his family were Jewish. No one wore their armbands on the ship, and there were no J's above the door, because all the passengers were Jewish, all 908 of them. They were all going to Cuba to escape the Nazis, and now they were finally away from the threats and violence that followed them everywhere in Germany. There was singing and dancing and laughter. 2 girls around Ruthie's age wearing matching flower dresses were leaning over the rail and giggling. Joseph and Ruthie went over to see what they were doing. One of the girls had found a long piece of string and was dangling it over the side to tickle the nose of the passengers who were sleeping in the chairs down on the deck below. Their current victim kept batting at his nose like there was a fly on it. He bopped his nose hard enough to jerk awake, and Ruthie laughed hysterically. The girls yanked up the string, and they all dropped to the deck behind the rail where the man couldn't see them laughing. "Hey, I'm Joseph," he told the other girls, "and this is Ruthie." "Joseph just turned 13, Ruthie told the girls. "He's going to have his bar mitzvah next Shabbos." A bar mitzvah was the ceremony when a boy officially became a man under Jewish law. It was usually held on the first Sabbath after a boy's 13th birthday. Joseph couldn't wait for his bar mitzvah. "If there's enough people," he told him. "I'm Renata Aber, one of the older girls, and this is Evelyn." They were sisters, and amazingly, they were traveling alone. "Our father's waiting for us in Cuba," Renata told them. "Where's your mama?" Ruthie said. "She wanted to stay in Germany," Evelyn said. Joseph could tell it was something they weren't comfortable talking about. "Hey, I know something funny we can do," he told them. It was a trick he and Klaus had played on their teacher once upon a time. Oh, thinking about Klaus made Joseph think about other things, but he blinked away the bad memories. The MS St. Louis had left all that behind. "First," Joseph said, "we need some soap." Once they had found a bar, Joseph showed them how to soap up a door handle so it was so slippery it was impossible to turn. They used it on the door handles of the cabins up and down the passageways on A deck, then hid around the corner and waited. Soon enough, a waiter, balancing a large silver tray, came down the hall from the other and knocked on the door. Joseph, Ruthie, Evelyn, and Renata had to swallow their laughs as the steward reached down with his free hand and tried and failed to open the door. The steward couldn't see because of the big tray he held, and as he fumbled with the knob, he lost his hold on the tray, and the whole thing came crashing down with a big noise. All 4 of them burst out laughing, and Joseph and Renata pulled the 2 younger children away before they could get caught. They collapsed behind one of the lifeboats, panting and giggling. Oh, as Joseph dried his eyes, he realized he hadn't played like this, hadn't laughed like this for many years. Joseph wished they could stay on board the St. Louis forever. Stay tuned for the next chapter.